When it comes to sheer size, Westeros belongs not to men, but to the giants, serpents, and predators that make the Seven Kingdoms tremble. In this video, we will see the top 15 biggest giant creatures in the world of Westeros, from the smallest to the biggest. Starting at number 15, giant ice spiders. And you'll hate how pathetic they are. Old Nan swears these White Walker mounts that they're as big as hounds and are only 5 to 7 feet long. They're name-dropped in A Game of Thrones as Storm of Swords and A Feast of Crows, but never show up. Wildlings and Hardhome argue that they're real or just ice-made fakes from the north. Seriously, White Walkers ride those puny bugs? It's a disgrace to monsters everywhere. Smallest on our list, and you'll be mad it's even here. Number 14 goes to Shadowcats. A full-grown Shadowcat can stretch 6 to 7 feet from nose to tail, standing close to 4 feet at the shoulder. They blend into twilight, their black and gray pelts modeled like shadows on rock, and their eyes catch light the way polished steel does. To a lone traveler in the mountains, the first sign might not be a growl or a claw, but the feeling that something's out there and watching and won't stop until you make a mistake. Even in warfare, Shadowcats have a place. Men who hunt them are considered proven beyond question, not because the fight is glorious, but because it means you are willing to stalk a stalker in its own world and live to tell about it. That's a different kind of courage than swinging a sword in daylight. At number 13, we've got direwolves, and Westeros treats them like overgrown dogs when they're straight-up monsters. Full-grown, these Northborn monsters, House Stark's pride, hit 8 to 10 feet long, big as small horses. Greywind shredded men like paper at Oxcross, Ghost stalked beyond the wall without a sound, and Nymeria built herself a wolf army in the Riverlands, but the show really did them dirty. Imagine calling a creature that can eat a horse just a pet. Direwolves are living legends, and it's criminal how often people forget these things could rip through a squad of armored knights without breaking a sweat. At number 12, we've got full-grown aurochs. They stand 6 feet tall at the shoulders, stretch 10 to 11 feet long, and can weigh close to 2,000 pounds. Their horns alone span nearly 3 feet from tip to tip, curling like natural spears. Herds once roamed the northern hills in the thousands, but the spread of farmland and castles has thinned them out, leaving only scattered groups in the wilderness. Knights sometimes compare the charge of a man-at-arms to an auroch stampede, but in truth, no armored horse could equal the raw momentum of a herd of those beasts thundering across open ground. To slay one is a feat, and to tame one would be impossible, which is why the aurochs endures in Westerosi culture as a symbol of wild and untamed strength. At number 11, we have lizard lions, and these swamp freaks are straight-up crocodile cosplayers. They're said to grow from 10 to 12 feet long with scales and a jaw full of teeth. You'll find them slithering through the neck, snapping up anyone dumb enough to paddle too close. Tell me how a 12-foot monster doesn't get more love. Absolute insult to their size. Number 10 is the snow bear. They're silent stalkers. Snow bears are the brutal reminder that sometimes the North doesn't need cleverness. A mature snow bear stands 6 to 7 feet at the shoulder when on all fours and can rear to over 12 feet tall. Their sheer power makes them a nightmare in close quarters, and even giants are said to respect their ferocity. Wildlings hunt them rarely, not only for their meat, but for their white pelts, which are prized as trophies that mark the hunter as a man who has looked death in the eye and prevailed. The crowned stag is the sigil of House Baratheon and our number 9 pick, but here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The real animal makes Robert look like a joke. A full-grown great stag can hit 7 feet at the shoulder, stretch 12 feet long, and weigh 1,200 pounds. Its antlers alone can span 5 feet wide, and one charge from this monster could split a warhorse in half. People love to wax poetic about Robert's hunting days, but let's be real, he probably never even killed one of these. More likely, he was knocking back ale while other men dragged in whatever buck they could catch. The actual great stags are so rare that to see one is basically a religious experience, which is why the old Storm Kings made them symbols of divine kingship. Number 8 gives us giants, and how in the frozen hell did anyone survive fighting these things? Picture a wall of muscle 12 to 14 feet tall, swinging a tree like a broomstick, and you're standing there with a little iron sword. These beasts didn't need armor, they were armor. armor, shrugging off arrows like mosquito bites and stomping men into red puddles. People talk about dragons being terrifying, but at least a dragon kills you from the sky. Giants crush you up close while you're screaming. Now, number 7, if you think a walrus is just a fat seal with tusks, then you've never seen the kind that haul themselves out on the pack ice north of the wall. These aren't clumsy circus animals. They're slabs of muscle wrapped in blubber, stretching 12 to 15 feet long and tipping the scales at nearly 2 tons. Their ivory tusks alone can reach 3 feet, sharp and heavy enough to punch holes through driftwood or gut a careless raider's boat. To the free folk, a giant walrus is as dangerous as a bear. They've watched hunters dragged under and crushed in the water, men gored open on the shore like they were nothing but fish. Even giants respect them, keeping their distance when herds crowd the ice floes. And here's the kicker, unlike aurochs or mammoths, you can't even dream of taming one. A horse will break, an ox will bend, but a walrus doesn't recognize anything but the sea and ice. That's why Ironborn songs curse them, wildling stories fear them, and even Night's Watch rangers mark their movement because a colony of great walruses can turn a frozen bay into a graveyard for ships. Coming in at number 6, mammoths. But let's be real, these woolly tanks made knights on horseback look like children playing dress-up. 20 feet tall, able to flatten a cavalry charge before the first horn stopped blowing. Wildlings lashed platforms to their backs and rode them as walking fortresses, tusks like battering rams tossing men aside as if they were straw. Southerners called them tall tales right up until they watched a herd tear through armored lines as though they were parchment. The wall was built because one mammoth slamming its skull against the gate could bring the whole thing down, and the real humiliation is that not a single house, not even dragon lords, ever tamed one. So the wildlings held the biggest war beast flex in history, while the rest of Westeros stayed blind. Number 5, stone giants. Few legends of the North inspire more awe than the stone giants, towering figures said to stalk the coasts of the Shivering Sea. Sailors whisper of shapes half seen on the cliffs, hurling boulders large enough to smash a longship like driftwood. These colossi are described as standing 25 to 30 feet tall, their bodies as broad as watchtowers, and their skin rough and weathered granite. With hands big enough to clasp a horse whole and strength measured in avalanches, they're said to fight the sea itself when storms rise. Number 4, Krakens, the ocean's ultimate nightmare patrolling Westeros coasts and deep waters. With tentacles that are over 120 feet long and 60 to 70 feet long, these creatures are powerful enough to split a ship in two or crush the hull like cardboard. As one tentacle tears the deck apart and pulls frightened sailors screaming into the icy depths, another wraps around the mast of a warship, bending it like a toothpick. Legends say Ironborn fleets have vanished in a single night and entire galleys swallowed before they could fire a single bolt. Krakens can strike silently from beneath, tearing ships apart from below the waves, creating whirlpools and chaos with every movement. Their massive eyes pierce the fog, their suction-cupped limbs grip and shred anything that floats, and their sheer size makes naval formations meaningless. In raw destructive capability, these sea monsters obliterate anyone foolish enough to cross their path. At number 3, we have dragons, the fire-breathing titans that shaped Westeros and Essos. These colossal winged beasts grow over 80 feet long, body alone, with wingspans twice as wide, their scales glinting like molten metal. Their fiery breath can melt stone, and razor-sharp claws tear through armies as seen with Drogon's devastating foes in Game of Thrones. Targaryens rode them to forge empires, their power rooted in ancient Valyrian blood magic, possibly bred from wyverns and fireworms. From Balerion's massive skull in A Game of Thrones to Daenerys' trio, they're no myth, their size and might unmatched. Dragons dominate skies and battlefields, incinerating entire legions with a single roar. Their legend is huge, representing the destructive power of Martin's world, a force that changed kingdoms and left a legacy that no army could ever beat. Leviathans come in at number 2, huge creatures that live in the seas of Westeros. These titans, which are usually gray or light blue, can grow to be as big as small islands, 200 feet or more, and their huge bodies are bigger than dragons. They live in the Sunset Sea and the Shivering Sea, and they gather in Lorath Bay and Leviathan Sound, where they're known as ancient beings. The Ibn Issa, who are skilled whalers, build ships to withstand their fury as voyages like Addis Westils in 56 AC avoided their treacherous domains. Leviathans embody the overwhelming power of Martin's oceans, and their sheer presence is a danger to any ship, a living legend that commands awe and fear in the vast waters. Topping our list at number 1, sea dragons. And let's get this straight. These aren't your vague, catch-all Leviathan monsters that maesters throw around like bedtime stories. These are real and targeted predators, the apex predators of Westerosi oceans. Stretching over 100 feet long, body alone, they move like liquid death through storm-churned waves. Their jaws can snap a warship in two, and their teeth grip timber like it's twine. Unlike generic Leviathans, which get lumped into myths, sea dragons have actual sightings. Ironborn fleets and coastal sailors recount attacks in A Feast for Crows, proving these things aren't legends. They dwell in the deep, then strike, crushing entire fleets with surgical precision. Think you're safe because you've seen krakens or dragons? Try facing a 100-foot-long serpent with the intelligence and aggression of a predator that's evolved specifically to hunt ships. That's it. If you liked this video, you can now watch this other cool video that appears on your screen. Click on it to see it.